Miss Hawkins, come on up. Michelle, come on up. Elder, come on. Enough seats up here. I'm not sitting up here with y'all. Pastor Thomas, you coming for something? Miss Hawkins, you got a seat up here for you next to. Let me read y'all the opening statement before we move into next part when Elder takes over. First of all, we want to say thank you all for being here. Got it wrote down. I don't like writing stuff down. Thank you all for being here. Today we gather as clergy, community leaders, and servants of the people and community to have this discussion, not to have a political discussion, but to lift up our shared commitment to justice, dignity, and our civic responsibility. Our congregations represent many different denominations, traditions, and perspectives, yet we are united in one mission, and that is to help our communities be informed, empowered, and engaged voters. We recognize that many of our members face real challenges, misinformation, lack of transportation, language barriers, and confusion about new requirements. As faith leaders, we have a unique ability to offer clarity, compassion, and support. Today's purpose is simple. We can discuss these steps to learn from Bexar County officials, to share what our community needs are, and to build a collaborative, nonpartisan plan to assist voters in a way that honors our spiritual calling and respects our differences. That's where I want to stop at. Thank you all for being here. Elder Bryant.
We're going to start with prayer. I'm going to ask Pastor Thomas to come.
Let us pray. Lord, it's now, even now, that you have allowed us to come together at this hollow spot and this sacred ground once again. Hearts and minds of those who are in leadership, in reflection of who you are and this community as a whole, in the state, and yes, even our nation. Allow us to truly be one nation under God, individual. We thank you even now that you would bless the hearts and minds of those who have a great concern for thy people. For this we ask that you would sup with us even tonight, Lord, that we would get direction from you and how to serve our community. In Jesus' name, Yahshua, we pray.
Amen.
Let me do this before you go. If any of you have to use the restroom, you can go out of that door and walk all the way around the way the hall leads you. Then you'll see a sign say restroom. Or you can get up, come through this door, and there's a restroom on the left.
So we're going to see a video from Commissioner Calvin.
Hello, I'm Tommy Calvert, County Commissioner. Let me be clear, your vote has power. In 2025, Texans voted to raise the homestead exemption and to unlock billions for water infrastructure we needed. That was your money in your pocket and an investment in our future. But here's the truth. When fewer than half of us vote, a small group makes big decisions about our schools, our healthcare, our safety, and our communities are left behind. That's why this March primary matters. Register to vote by February 2nd. Early voting starts February 17th, and Election Day is March the 3rd. Don't wait, don't sit it out. Make a plan, bring a friend, and vote like your future depends on it, because it does. When we vote, we all win.
And so we gathered tonight because we're really past the critical point, and we've passed the boiling point. We see all of the things happening in our nation and in the great state of Texas that are troubling, to say the least. And And so we're at a point where, as a community, community of faith, we have to work together to do what's necessary for us to overcome the place that we're now in. Historically, the church has always been able to come together to motivate people to get out and vote and do what we need to do to take care of our communities, to take care of our citizens. And so our challenge now is that we're at a point where I think the last election we were under 20%. Well under 20% turnout. And so the real problem in Texas is not that there are all these other people voting, it's that we are not voting. And so we have to talk about what we need to do in order for us to turn out the vote, to show up to vote, and to do what we need to do to make Texas better for our families and for our friends. So we have several things going on. We're going to start tonight just talking about some of what is available. We're going to have conversations about what we need to do, and we need to know what we're concerned about related to voting, and why it is so difficult for us to turn out the vote. I know that a lot of things have happened, a lot of things have been said, and I also know that voter suppression is real. I know that we can talk to people that make us think that voting is not necessary, but it's absolutely necessary, and we're going to talk about some of the reasons why it's absolutely necessary and some of the things that we're confronted with right now so that we understand the importance of these next couple of months as we prepare for new leadership in 2026. And we do need new leadership, and we need to be a part of bringing forth that leadership. And so we have to work together to make that happen. So right now, we have questions, or did we have some? Okay. So where it says community concern, what the concern is about voting. Community concern related to voting, and we have time for 3 or 4 people to say something about what you're concerned about as it relates to voting and why we're not voting. And everybody can't volunteer at the same time, but someone has to start. We'll take time for 3 or 4 people to do that. Who wants to be first? Everybody say Chris. They already know you. Okay. He want to be second. Oh, I see. So we don't have concerns? Well, what are they? I don't hear any. Okay. You just walk by.
Good evening, everybody, and I'm with D2 Strong and D2 Can, and we put this on. My concerns are, and I sit on last night, the Tejano Democrats, they had a Zoom, and their concerns were the same as mine, and it was regarding, because Jasmine Crockett was on it, we're missing the demographics of the youth. The concern is we've got to figure out how to get to those young people, because they're not voting. The people in this room are voting. Elderly vote, but we all have to figure out how we're going to get to them. And you all hold the power. You're grandparents, and you're cooking for them. So please, what I'm talking about is we need to start talking to the young people, and I think Representative Gervin agrees with me on that, as far as using what we have, because you do have power as grandparents. So start talking to your young people, because that's the demographics that's not voting. And that's a lot of voters. So we need your help with that, for you to implant in them how important voting is. Bring them to meetings too. So that's my concern, that we're missing a demographics that holds a lot of power, and that's a lot of people. I just want to share that with you.
I heard somebody else said they had a concern. There were a couple of other people that spoke. The question is, my statement is, if you have concerns about voting, we need to talk about what they are. So we need to name them so that we can begin to address them in ways that help us overcome the reality of not getting people out to vote.
In our country, people have lost confidence in elected officials. They don't believe that the people who are serving, who are actually taking care of those needs, are meeting those needs. And so when people vote and they don't get anything for their vote, right, it's hard to get them to come to a community gathering because they feel like it's just going to be the same old thing. So I think we have a lot of work to do around informing, of course, the voter, and I think holding those of us in leadership have to hold elected officials accountable to make sure they deliver.
All right.
So there's just so much misinformation about voting, how we're going to vote, mail-in ballots, and all of that. And I think people are just overwhelmed, and there needs to be something or somewhere where people can go and feel secure in the information they're getting is correct. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. We hear it daily. And so I don't know where and how you're going to get it out there, but I think that's the main thing. Sure, we have demographics that don't vote as much as others. That's important as well, but I think a big part of it is that there's just a lot of misinformation out there, and we're hearing it from everywhere. I think that's what we need to focus on. One of the things we need to
Hi, State Rep, to the host pastor. I'm Pastor Garner from the Worship Center. Been in the city probably about 25 years. Excited about San Antonio and what it has to offer. One of the comparison, the contrast that I would say that has always bothered me, not only on the east side, but let's just say in the city of San Antonio, is voting. I think that I live in Schertz. I was retired Air Force, so I reside there. But I noticed that the contrast is this. When the voting season begins, respectively, there is an enormous amount of what I call signs that are pointing toward the voting polls, pointing toward the voting locations, to include just more engagement of sign activity within the church area, whether it's at a church, whether it's at a community center, whether it's at the designated center. So I noticed that, and so what happens is the target area of those polls are surrounded where the high schools are, which is Clemens and Steele High School. And I mean, you can just see the enormous amount of turnout. So when I look at my telephone, if Pastor Jones send me some information, I notice that I can either look at the information or I can ensure that it is disseminated accordingly throughout the city. If I look at it, that means that it's only for me. But if I pass it on to my network, that tells me that I'm taking care of my base. I'm getting the word, let's say this, down to, from my position, respectfully, the lowest level. So when you contrast that with voting, my job is to try to is to try to engage those that are within my section. Those, in this case, will be my church, vice chairman of CCSA. I do my best to get the word out. But to me, it's as if, just like a simple announcement about tonight, it doesn't move off by cell phones to the community. Just like when it's time to vote, they don't know where to go. The Claude Black Center can't be the only place, respectfully, that's visible for us to be able to point people toward. So I felt that in my concern, what I've looked at for a while, just haven't had the platform to talk about it, I wanted to come and really be sensitive to this area. It's not the fact that the young people don't want to vote. It's the fact that when you look at the proximity and where they reside in correlation to the school that they're attending, they don't see it nowhere to be able to do what? To participate. And I think the voting age is what? 18 years old, right? All right, so that's what I noticed. In church, I see it, it's all over the place. I'm talking about lines are long, but they stay there, whether it's at the fire station, whether it's at any other building, activity building. So thank you. That's what I wanted to address tonight. Lack of visibility with the marquee, with signs, just really trying to show some type of diagram as to where do we vote. And therefore, it becomes intimidating because what'll happen is if you're 18, oh, I'll just wait till next time. Or I'll just won't vote this time. Whereas with my son, who's just did 4 years in the Army, daughter as a teacher, I still grab them by the hand and say, you will vote. You will not miss an election. And so I know it's accountability on the parents, but it's also the visibility of where do they go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you. I'm Dr. Melanie Igelhart Hammonds from Center of Hope Ministries. I'm here with my husband, Pastor Dwayne Hammonds. I would like to say that I'm concerned because I think that at some point I just assumed that some of them, and I'm going to go to when I identify the late 20s up to 40-ish, that demographic of, and we call them young people at this point, but I don't think we can afford to assume that they share our ideology. That there are some that I've run across that have intentionally chosen not to vote. And that was because, I don't know if they are conflicted, but that they tend to lean to the ideology of the Trump folks and would just rather not vote than to go on and vote that direction. But when you talk to them, they're messed up. they drank the Kool-Aid that has been fed to them. So I believe that we also need to really drill down to what has caused them to lean in that direction. What is it that are these beliefs that have kept them from going on and voting? Because I hate to say it because I want to slap him upside his head, but my son is one of them. He was just, I'm just not going to vote. And I was just in shock. Talked to a nephew of mine in Dallas. I was in shock. You couldn't have made me believe that they really were identifying with something they were fed along the way. So I don't think we can afford to just assume it's just a get the message out, but we have to really identify what it is that has them thinking this way and address it with information. I think Sis called it just really the misinformation that has happened.
Thank you. All right. So this is you can be the last one or we got a next topic either way. But
Well, mine's a short and sweet. The angel of this house, Dr. Jones, Barbara, State Rep, all assembled. I'm looking at an acronym called MIA. I know we might say missing in action, but that's not what it is tonight. It's motivation, accountability, motivation, interest, and accountability. And I think the motivation part is a lack of our leaders doing some things that could be done to get people interested in doing something that will work for the community. I'm saying that sparking interest of people by all means possible. I don't know if we have to do block parties or whatever it's going to take to get people, to bring people together and for them to hear what's need to be heard and then see what happens from there. So the accountability is, I think we ought to hold our spiritual leaders accountable, you know, to just do what they're called to do, preach to people to get interested in doing something that's going to benefit them. And I'm going to leave it at that. But the MIA is something that we can put together and, you know, just run with that. Yes, ma'am, MIA.
All right. So I believe that the next item on the agenda we were going to talk about, or we were going to hear from the Democratic Party chair for Bexar County. Michelle?
Now can you hear me? Yes, you can. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michelle O'Solis. I'm the chair of the Bexar County Democratic Party. I've been doing this for about a year. Just a little background. I am a native San Antonian, born in Santa Rosa Hospital. So this is home for me. I spent 36 years in the Department of Defense as a civilian in the Air Force. And I worked back and forth between here, Randolph Air Force Base, Brooks Air Force Base is where I started, and the Pentagon. 36 years, and what was my kind of calling into the Democratic Party and really making sure that I did something to make a difference, right? Always a Democratic voter from the year 18 and on, but not really participating because of my federal service, right? Just voting. 5 years ago, January 6th was my motivation to retire. My husband and I looked at each other and decided that what I was seeing on the TV, we were working out of the Pentagon. We were in the DC area and seeing what was happening on January 6, 2021 was my motivation to retire, to come back home and to begin to figure out what it is that I can do to begin to move our community forward, right? The Democratic community forward. Did a lot of just trying to figure things out. Didn't even know there was such a thing as a precinct chair. How many of y'all know there's such a thing as a precinct chair? Okay, there's a few, yay. So did a lot of work, did a lot of just trying to figure things out, and got elected about a little over a year ago into this position, and have been working it hard as I can possibly work it ever since. So what I want to do today is really talk to you about, you know, how can we partner? What are the ways that we can partner? So if you could go, oh, oops, the slides. So if you could pull up the slides, please. There you go. So, you know, what are the ways that we can work together? And it was really good hearing from those of you that came up and spoke, because those are the things that we want to try and do together, right? How can we help with misinformation? How can we help with getting out the word? How can we help with voter education? How can we help with getting to young people? But I do think your point is good. It's got to be parents. It's got to be grandparents. You know, a lot of you I know are going, you know, at age 5, you know you're going to college, right? You're going to college. You're going to go to college. And 6 and 7, you're going to college, you know? You're just letting them know. You're telling them what your expectations are. And I think that's really part of what we've got to do as a community. So these are the things that I think that, you know, in a nonpartisan way, the clergy can do in your churches. You know, share voting dates, share, host nonpartisan voter education events, allow, voter registration tables in your churches, provide transportation assistance, encourage civic participation from the pulpit, right? So those are the things that are nonpartisan, that you can do today, and I think we can help. I think there are things that we can do to arm you, to give you the tools that can, share the important information that you need to pass along. Next slide, please. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about here. First, my next couple of slides are going to be everything that we're doing between now and the primary, right? Because that's where I'm at right now, is there are things that we've got to do to make sure that we get to the primary and make sure people are, one, engaged, educated, motivated to vote this election. And I think there's some things in our favor this go around. But what I want to show you is, these are the important dates. That's actually a graphic, right? I can share that with you all tonight. We put this out. We put it out on our website. We put it out on our social media. You can put it out on your website and your social media. You can put it in your church bulletins. I mean, we can share. There's nothing on that graphic that says Bexar County Democratic Party. Subliminally, it's blue. But, it is nonpartisan. And it tells you the dates that you need to know. So the dates that you need to know is the last day to register. If you want to vote in this March 3rd primary, is February 2nd. Early voting dates, starting February 17th, that's a day after President's Day, so that's a Tuesday. And it goes all the way through Friday, February 27th. There is only one weekend of early voting. That's February 21st and 22nd. And then, of course, Election Day is March 3rd. The one thing that I didn't mention is if you want to vote by mail, and I don't know how many of y'all vote by mail, but if you want to vote by mail, you have got to apply every year. That is a relatively new thing that came through the Texas legislature. Republicans, wanting to make it a little bit harder for folks to vote, said now every year, if you want to vote by mail, you have to apply. That is not muscle memory yet. The first year that happened, that we had to apply to vote by mail, was 2022, and I think in Bexar County, we had over 30,000 mail ballots that were rejected because you now have to put, not only do you have to apply, but you also have to put either your last four of your Social Security or your driver's license on it. So just a lot of new requirements, not really required, right, but now required by Texas law that make it harder for a vote to count. So the last day to apply to vote by mail, if you want to vote in the March primary, is February 20th, and it has to be received by Bexar County Elections by that date. Okay, next slide. So again, I'm going to be talking about the things that we're doing right now, and one of those is making sure that the 20,000 plus seniors, Democratic seniors, here in Bexar County who vote by mail are informed that they have to apply to vote by mail. So there's two ways that we're going about doing that. The first is, if we've got a precinct that has a precinct chair, we are putting together the applications and the instructions together. We're putting them in packets, and we're giving them to our precinct chairs so they can walk them around to our Democratic seniors who vote by mail. That's about 11,000. We have a lot of precincts, and I'm going to go over this a lot. We have a lot of precincts who do not have precinct chairs. So what we're doing is, starting next Wednesday, we're going to have a phone bank, at least initially, at our office. That may change. We got to get smart first before we can run. At our office, where we're going to have a phone bank, where we're inviting campaigns to bring in their volunteers, or any volunteers, come in, we're going to provide pizza, help us call those Democratic seniors to remind them that they need to apply to vote by mail. That's about 10,000 people that we're going to have to call between now and the end of January. And you know what? The end of January, the beginning of February, those mail ballots start to get mailed out. So we want to make sure that we're letting people know in advance so they can act. Next slide. We can do voter registration. If you want us to come out and do voter registration at your church campus, give us a call, 210-504-0507. That is our office number. We have voter registrars. We will come out and we will do voter registration. I'm going to tell you that I don't think voter registration is our big issue. I'm going to show you a slide later on that says 80% of our voting population is registered to vote. Where our issue is getting out the vote. But we are going to be at the MLK March, and we're going to be at like events. Cesar Chavez, Juneteenth. We're going to be at all of the events that we can be at, where there are gatherings of people. If you have a gathering of people and you want us there, just please give us a call. Next slide. Starting in February, I mean, it's just this fast, right? I mean, we just had New Year's. We are already talking about the primary and getting out the vote starting the first week in February, because early voting starts February 17th. I mean, it is that fast. So what we are going to do is our precinct chairs are going to start going out and knocking on doors and letting people know, here's election day, here's when you can early vote, here's where you can vote, here's what your sample ballot is looking like, here's the important things that are on your ballot. We're going to put QR codes and hand those out as well. So people can come to our website, because our website, we are going to have a lot of information, and have had a lot of information in our past elections. Links to candidates so that you can go to their websites and see what they're all about. We're going to put a voter guide together that talks not about the candidates, but about the position. What does a county clerk do, and why is that important to you? What does a district attorney do, and why is that important to you? We have so many races on ballot this go around where people don't understand what does that position do, and why should I care? So we're going to try and put something together that is educational, that helps people understand why it's important to vote, really. Next slide. So I talked about what we're going to do to get up to March. So now we're going to start talking about what do we need to do to make sure that we're understanding what it's going to take to get us to November, right? So what happens when we don't get out the vote? So we're coming up on a midterm election. November 2026 is a midterm election. November 2022 was our last midterm election. So let's see how we did as far as voting, because we did not get out the vote. So voting age population was 22 million. That means 18 and over, 22 million people. We had almost 17.7 million people who are registered to vote. That's 81%. That's a B minus. So not great, but not terrible. The next one is shocking. Of those 17.7 million people, only 8.1 million people came out to vote in 2022, a year where we had Winter Storm Uri, we had Uvalde, we had the voting rights bill that I was talking about that made voting harder, right? Things that hurt the community. Only 8.1 million people said, it's really important, I've got to vote. So you will see that is 46%, and that is an F. In Bexar County, it was 44%. That's still an F. 9.6 million people in the state of Texas did not feel it was important enough to come out to vote. So while we will do voter registration events, and I promise you, if you call us, we will come, this is where we need help. We need help to get out the vote. So I will tell you that at the very top of the ticket, so people will say this is a red state, right? They will say it's a red state. But at the very top of the ticket in 2022, the governor, Greg Abbott, was elected by 21% of Texans. That's it, 21%. We had 55% of Texans not vote. Okay, so that's where we're at. That's where we need the help. We need the help in getting out the vote. Next slide. Okay, so what we need is help with recruiting boots on the ground. And boots on the ground are our precinct chairs. And what precinct chairs do is they help get out the vote. They go out and they let their neighbors know, here's when the election is, here's where it's going to be, here's where your closest location is, and here's some information here, right here. You can have this information right here. It gets part of that misinformation out of the way. Again, it'll have a QR code to get to our website so that you can dig deeper if you want to. They make sure that the mail-in ballots, that to apply for them every year. They help Democratic candidates connect with their neighbors so that if you want to host an event with a candidate, bring your neighbors over. It helps candidates too. So that's one of the other things that precinct chairs do. So where are we with precinct chairs in Bexar County? We have 776 precincts in Bexar County, but about 118 of those have zero This is one of them, and I'm going to show you this precinct here in just a bit. This is one of those precincts that have 0 voters in it. So in Bexar County, we have 658 populated precincts, 285 precinct chairs. That's pretty much a big delta. In Precinct 4, we have 179 populated precincts. We have 60 precinct chairs. In District 2, we have 65 populated precincts. We have 20 precinct chairs. That's where we need boots on the ground. Next slide. So this is this precinct. This is 4139. If you see the 4139 on the slide, that's the HEB. That's just right there. Again, no voters in this precinct, but I just want to talk about some of the precincts that surround this precinct. So if you see 4038 that's in this kind of corner over here, that's basically Terrell Heights, right? It's Austin Highway up to Eisenhower all the way over to North New Braunfels. That's 4038. It's a big precinct. It's a Democratic precinct. They have 64% turnout. They have a precinct chair. 64% of the people that turned out voted for Kamala Harris. If you go up to 4046, that's where the cemetery is, the bottom half of it. It goes all the way up to Loop 410, Salado Creek on the east side, Harry Wurzbach on the west side. No, the one that's just right up here on Eisenhower, north of Eisenhower. Thank you, Sunset. That's it. Yeah. So from Eisenhower up to 410. It includes Oakville Farms. Big voter turnout, well, big for Bexar County, 64% turnout. 52% voted for Kamala Harris. So it's blue, but it's barely blue. This precinct right here, which is on the other side of Harry Wurzbach, south of Austin Highway, 58% turnout, which was the average turnout for Bexar County in the presidential election, 58%. Of Bexar County turned out. That was the number. In this precinct that has no precinct chair, the average number turned out. And 63% of them came out for Kamala Harris. So it's a Democratic precinct. The one I want to focus on is the one that is kind of south and east of this precinct. It's 4044. So the average turnout in Bexar County in the presidential election was 58%. In that precinct that does not have a precinct chair, it was 51%. If we had a precinct chair and it just came up to the 58%, the average, right? We would have had 125 more votes. If we had a precinct chair and we were able to match the 64% turnout, we would have had 250 more votes. And imagine that for all of the 350 precincts that don't have a precinct chair, if we could get that many more votes. The partners that I'm working with, the Texas Democratic Party, Texas Majority PAC, say turnout in Bexar County, if we want to do some flipping of some statewide seats, needs to be in the low 60s, 61, 62, 64 would be ideal, right? Let me go to the next slide. If you could, please. Okay, so this is 4044. The top is Eisenhower. It kind of comes down Corrine. It then kind of snakes over to Northeast Parkway here, comes down Harry Wurzbach, and then basically goes across to Rittiman. All that green space, there's really no voters there, so just kind of goes to Rittiman, and then it's Salado Creek is the east boundary. 51% turnout, 51% turnout, but 62% of those that turned out voted for Kamala Harris. It is a Democratic precinct. If we could find a precinct chair to work that precinct, we could get potentially 250 more votes. Next slide. So these are the opportunities that we have. We can share we can participate, have you help us participate in phone banks to get, kind of the vote by mail. We're going to have phone banks on a regular and recurring basis to do voter ID to get out the vote. Imagine that's going to be a continuing thing. We will provide food every time because that's important. You got to feed the soul as well, and feed the belly and feed the soul. We can share graphics on those important election dates and make sure that you get that in a timely manner so that you can share it. You can share it on your screens, in social media, in your church bulletin. The videos, so the video that you saw was actually Commissioner Calvert who put that together at our request. But that's what we want to do. Try to help people get excited about why it's important and what your vote is actually doing. It's actually helping reduce your property taxes. It's actually making sure we get necessary infrastructure in the state of Texas that's going to help everybody, the community, right? Public schools, you name it. We need help recruiting precinct chairs. I mean, really and truly, boots on the ground is what I'm trying to do. When I came into the office, we had 203 precinct chairs. We now have 285, so I've tried to make it a priority, but it is, it's something that it's hard, and we definitely need, we need help. And then again, we can help connect you to candidates so that they can come and meet your congregations. So I really want to thank you all for inviting me here today. I think that we have amazing opportunity to partner and to share information in a way that is nonpartisan, that is a way that can help with, clearing up the misinformation and hopefully also getting to all the right people. So.
Michelle, let's clear up some information right now with our pastors.
Absolutely.
There's concern about jeopardizing 501c3s. Let's talk a little bit about that so that our pastors, at least here today, understanding the role that they can play.
Okay. If you could go back, I'm sorry, if you could go back to my first slide. I went through it a little quick, and I will say that there is potentially some confusion on a case that's going on right now. So the Johnson Amendment is what you're talking about, which is a IRS, it's not only a rule, it's a law, right, where 501c3s can keep their tax exempt status, but they cannot participate in political campaigning or endorsing candidates. There was a case, and it's called National Religious Broadcasters versus the IRS. The IRS actually settled that case. It's actually two churches here in Texas that were the catalyst. There you go. Thank you. So the IRS settled and said, yeah, no, y'all can go ahead. It's good. You can endorse from the pulpit. It actually is still in court. It's in Texas Federal District Court up in the Dallas area. And arguments were heard in November. The case is still pending. So I would advise caution on endorsing anyone or following that, that case. IRS has not updated their website. I mean, it is still saying the Johnson Amendment applies, but these are the things that you as clergy can do that are nonpartisan, that should not impact your 501c3 tax exempt status. Yes, sir.
My question is, did this current administration change that in terms of Johnson, that Trump administration said now churches can support bigger candidates? Is it just law or is it just rhetoric?
So it is law, and what the IRS said, and he may have done it in executive order, I have no idea, because he's put a few of those out. We're just gonna admit that. He did. The IRS said that they settled. They basically settled with the national religious broadcasters and said you can do that. But 1,500 nonprofits, 501c3s, wrote a letter to Mr. Trump and to the IRS opposing this change in the Johnson Amendment. It went to court. That was what was heard in November. The arguments were heard November 25th up in Dallas, and there is no final decision. So I would, again, advise caution. These are the things you can do, no problem whatsoever. Yes, sir?
Did I hear you say that they could endorse from the pulpit?
That's the case. That's the case that IRS settled with the national. I would not do that. Now, I know that there are churches that do that, but on the other side of the aisle. Yes, ma'am. Correct.
And so I know that many of you may get a little upset about what I'm going to say, but I think somehow we need to work together in a faith community theologically to put
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't want to change the subject because this is good, but I recently heard, and this is that part about I'm saying about misinformation and information all over the place. I recently heard that there is something in the works. The U.S. Postal Service.
Yes.
They're changing
Yes.
the deadlines or the times in which, okay, you talk.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm very familiar with this, and we are going to put something out as we get closer to the election, but we really don't have postmark-based elections, right? So, if you're going to apply to vote by mail, okay, so let me tell you what happened. So, the U.S. Postal Service changed a rule, and they are no longer going to postmark mail when it comes in. Unless you go to the desk and tell them, postmark this, they're not going to postmark it when it comes in. They're going to postmark it when it gets through to the distributing site, which could be days later, right? Particularly if you're in the rural area, right? It'll be days later. So that is not as much going to impact Texas as it is going to impact other states. So let me go back to apply to vote by mail, right? It's not postmark based. It has to be at bare elections on February 20th. Doesn't matter what the postmark date is, okay? Same with when you're actually voting, right, and you mail it, it has to be there either March 3rd or the day after. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to find that out.
It has to be there at closing on election day, or if it's postmarked by election day, it can come in the next day. But again, we can't count on the postmark.
That's right. You can't count on the postmark anymore. So what you do is you go to the desk and say, I want you to postmark this today.
Yeah,
Or send it in earlier. Yeah.
You have to get that information out to people because
Yeah.
they don't know that.
That is true. It literally just happened, I want to say December 28th. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So good. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good one. Any other questions? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Tonight, our primary goal is for us to understand the importance. You said it. If we don't do it now, I don't know if we ever will. But we have to work together. We have to partner in ways that we never have before in order to make sure that we do what we need to do. One of the things that we know we're going to do, just like you saw the video that started with Tommy, we have to make some other clips with some of you and with community members so that we are posting them and we're talking about our new reality and what we have to do in order to get where we need to go this year. I believe that we're at a point where failure is not an option. And we failed for the past few elections to turn out the vote. We have failed miserably. And so we can't afford to do that again. We got to win this time. And you're talking about Venezuela, and you know he did some stuff in Nigeria too. And he's stirring up the world. Well, if they won't give him the Nobel Peace Prize, I guess he's trying to make them regret it. But tonight, we need to think about what we can do, what we can partner to do to make happen so that we help to get out the vote this time. We can't just say, y'all need to vote. We need to be committed to doing whatever is necessary to ensure that we are sharing correct information, getting good information to the people in a timely manner. Getting it the week of the election is not helpful. Getting it after early voting has started is not helpful. We need to really stay on it, but we all have to make commitments. And the commitment that we make is to partner with each other, to help each other. This is not us versus them. This is us for us. We got to make us get across the finish line this time around. We can't start good, look good, but cry on election night. We want to have some real celebrations this time around. And so we've got to work together to make that happen. And we will have further conversations about making videos and the opportunities to create clips so that we can share them on social media, share them with our congregations, share them throughout the community, because it's all in. We got to be all in this time. We got to be all in because it's not looking good. And truth is, every day is something new. It just keeps getting worse. And I read a survey that said Americans are the most stressed they've ever been. And me and stress don't get along. That's not good. We need to be able to relax and remember who we are, not just as God's children, but as citizens. We should be relaxed, not stressed about what's going on. So we want to say thank you, but we also need to make commitments tonight with each other on things that we know we are willing to do. The thing, we had the list up earlier of what we know we can do, the sharing of information, but just working together and talking to each other, because everybody has ideas about things that we can do, and collectively we can make it happen. So we just need to keep working together. And the final words and inspiration is going to come from our leader, our state. She's the chair of the Texas Democratic Black Caucus.
Thank you.
And District 120. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do have two opponents, so just want to let y'all know.
Is and shall be.
Yes. Okay.
Amen.
First of all, I want to say good evening to everyone. And this meeting is so important, so thank you, Pastor Jones, for organizing it, you and D2 Strong. Let's talk about what we need to do. You know, I think we've heard a lot of conversation about our challenges, but let's talk about resolution. And I think that's where we have to move to. Before we do that, though, I just want to frame something for each and every one of you. America truly is in trouble. That's a fact. Okay, and I think it's been mentioned, and y'all have seen it. And our democracy is on the line, and there is a true plan to take us back. That's for real, okay? And so I wanted to really talk about the elected officials' role, because as was said earlier, there's a lack of trust and a lack of belief. So as we reimagine many of our systems, let's talk about our elected officials. Guess what? We can't do everything. We can't do everything. Let's be clear on that. We're one person, okay? And/or we're in the minority party. So I want to share this, and I come from a sports family, and so I want to talk a little sports jargon that I think will bring it home as we talk to our young people. You know, there's 4 quarters in the game of basketball, right? So the first quarter in this fight was when myself and the Democratic House of Representatives broke quorum. Why did we break quorum? We were sitting in a chamber where our colleagues refused to listen and/or take anything from us. They demoted our positions where we could no longer be committee chair people. They talked about decreasing our budgets and on and on. In their words, we will give you punishment. we knew, and I'm on the redistricting committee, that they were trying to really change the game when this whole redistricting gerrymandering came about. There's a letter, I have a copy of it from DOJ, that says Trump wants 5 seats in Texas. More than 5 has changed. Everybody talk about the 5. They really changed 12 districts. Okay? So the first quarter of this game was when we broke quorum. When we broke quorum, we had one mission, and that mission was to wake up America. I believe mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. So we won the first quarter. The second quarter, and the reason we came back when we did, our legal folks said, you must get back here by a certain time frame to give us an opportunity to fight in the courts. So when we came back, the idea was to do our fight in the court. We went to El Paso, and I testified in the case. We won in El Paso in the district court. And they laid out that the maps were illegal, racist, and should not move forward. Within days, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the district's decision. When have y'all ever known the Supreme Court to get together in days? Okay? But that shows you what's going on here, the power. So breaking quorum was the first quarter. The win in El Paso was the second quarter. The third quarter was when the U.S. Supreme Court stepped in and said, we're in the fourth quarter right now, okay? We must win. As elected officials, we can't win it by ourselves. We're passing the ball to the people, okay? We need the people. Y'all saw the demographics up there already. 17 million folks are registered to vote. We must win this game. But it's going to take each and every one of you in this room, plus, and your network to make sure we're moving towards that win. And I believe we can do it. As a matter of fact, I know we can do it if we work together. But I want to be clear on something. Let's take away this word of unity. For some reason, we always think we have to be unified. We're not a monolithic group. We just have to have unity of purpose. You know, as I share a lot of times with my staff, I say we need to get downtown. Well, how we going to go? Well, I don't care how you're going to go, because you may like 10, I may like 35, you may like 281/37. The goal is what? To get downtown, okay? So as we approach this, our goal is to what? Increase our voting population. Now, if that increase means engaging our young people, let's do it and bring them along. And I agree. Let's not argue with them, y'all. Let's walk them through the process. Because I, too, have a son that was looking at the Democratic agenda and following the Republican agenda and following them on Facebook until I sat him down and had a rich conversation. And that rich conversation wasn't saying, you wrong, I'm right. The conversation was saying, okay, what about this? What about that? What about this? At the end of the day, he said, Mom, you right. Okay? When you start arguing and debating with people, what happens? They shut down. You can't get through them, okay? We have to educate our young people on what the real issues are. That takes time. And we live in a world now, everybody moving fast, everybody going fast. See, we used to sit on the front porch, y'all. And you got to know what was going on in people's lives. I don't see too many people sitting on the front porch no more, okay? All right, but we have to create the front porch, okay? There was a time we couldn't go into the high tower building unless we had a bucket and a mop. Now, guess what? Some of us own some of them tall buildings, okay? So we can do it. And the front push can be your church, the trusted messenger. That's the other thing, y'all, we have to remember. The trusted messenger. It ain't the messages a lot of time. It's the messenger. And so we have to look at the fact is, how do we get that message to our young people? Because they know how to mobilize. Because remember, Barack couldn't win, could he? Looked like he won to me. What did he do? He mobilized. Okay? He mobilized the young people. They carried them across the finish line. So they do want to participate. But we have to take time to educate. And so I look at the district that I serve and that I love and that I have worked in for years. And it is our time to really be the example of how we can increase voter participation. So if I counted every block in my district, there's probably at least a minimum of one church. There's at least 2 or 3 in most we'll call precincts, okay? So what I'd like to see happen is that we start having what we call educational series, okay? Where we start bringing in our young people and them bringing in their friends and start educating them and empowering them. Because another thing that we've gotten away from is talking to our young people, okay? You know, one of my employees sent out an email yesterday that shook up everybody. They thought the world was turning upside down. I said, wait a minute. So I brought them in the conference room and sat down and had a conversation. And everybody had a better understanding. Because technology has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages. See, I didn't know capital letters on the email mean you hollering at me. I didn't know that. I thought you was helping me see the words better. Okay? I didn't know if you did something in color, then you mean. I didn't know that. So we have to start talking to our young people, but that's an investment of time. So when we don't have the time ourselves, that means we've got to get what? Other trusted messengers. And I know pastors, y'all don't have time. You already got enough you're doing in dealing with baby adult children in your church. All right? We all got those hanging around, right? But there are some trusted messengers. What we need you to do is to identify those trusted messengers and start educating them first. And from that, they began to start educating others, because people will tell the good news when they understand the good news, okay? We have gotten away from our history, and we're blaming the politicians, elected officials, but guess what? My grandma didn't read it in the book. My grandma experienced it, okay? As we sat on the porch or laid in her bed, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? In that comfortable space, we learned a lot. Let's start creating some comfortable spaces for our young people. And I think that that's important. When we talk about being overwhelmed, lack of visibility, all of those things, I will share this with y'all. Anything we focus on, we will be successful. No ifs, ands, and buts about it if we focus on it. So if I look at, I know Pastor Jones sent me a list of 150 churches. So just if half of them, let's say 75, each identified one person to be a precinct chair, did y'all know that all of my precinct seats would be filled and I'd have a waiting list? Just one person in your church, either a retired person, a middle-aged person, and I know everybody got a busybody in their church, right? That's somebody, because the precinct chair elects people. You know, people today want power, right? It's either power or money. If I ain't got no money to give you, can I give you some power? Okay? So if we identified at least one person in our church to be a precinct chair, that could be a senior citizen. That can be a high schooler. This is the title of precinct chair. And it could be an elected position. At this point, I believe you can swear people in by appointment, but I identify a person that's in my inner circle, and they're precinct chair, and they ran, and they got 125 votes. They were so proud. I got 125 votes. They were so excited. So the experience itself we can make exciting, and that is getting people engaged. Tell me y'all don't have one person in your church. You got at least one. They do. They do. So what I've asked our awesome chairperson right here, I said, get us maps by precinct with street names, okay? Because if you told me exactly what precinct we sitting in now, I couldn't tell you. But I can tell you we're on Northeast Parkway, Riverbed, Austin Highway, Eisenhower, right? So those resources are available to us. So just think, if for every precinct you have a map that have the streets on it, we can identify people in those areas, okay? So the goal of our pastoral group should be to identify those individuals. We have a meet that are interested. We have a meeting. We have the precinct maps, and they volunteer to be a precinct chair. They will see it's so rewarding. A lot of people think it takes a lot of work. It doesn't, because what becomes is you become the information disseminator. That's basically what you're doing. So that if the party has something, they push it out to the precinct chair. Now you can spread the good news. I would love this district to become the new overground railroad, where we're getting information out to the people. So I would say, think about it. Even if we can do, folks that are in this room, and you don't have to live in District 2. Let's be clear on that. All black folks don't live in District 2, okay? Let's talk about how we expand so that wherever our churches are, we at least have one member that's a precinct chair, if not more. If not more. So if every church, Pastor Jones, can say, I got a precinct chair, can you imagine? We can fill those slots overnight, okay? So let's fill those slots in the next couple of weeks. I've got 88 precincts in my district. There's only 22 are filled. I've got 66 slots. Okay? Call my office and give me the name of the individual, and then that way I can call them and say, this is the Honorable Barbara Gervin Hawkins calling you, because you special. Be a precinct chair in my district. Okay? Let's do that. That will bring our young people to the office. That will get them engaged. They can volunteer if they have time. Because I did ask a couple young people, I said, let's do this, that, and that. Well, we all have jobs. I got it. They got jobs, they got kids, they got all of that. But we have to help them remember helping society is important too. No doubt about it. So that's one thing we can do. Every church, tell me this, Pastor, is there a problem with identifying one person in your church that could be a precinct chair? What would be the challenge? Would there be any challenge? Raise your hand if you think it would be a challenge. If you're scared to come to the mic, just raise your hand if you think it would be a challenge. So no one says it's a challenge. So does that mean I'm going to get about 20 new precinct chairs in the next few days? I hope so. Okay. The other thing that's so important, y'all, let's talk about ideology and beliefs. Okay? That's a fact. It's real. Our young people today we've spoiled them in many cases. That's number one. That's a fact, and I'm guilty of it, because we wanted to protect them, wanted to create a better world for them. But if we don't get involved now, while we try to create a better world, what's getting ready to come down the pipe is even worse. Okay? So we have to engage in this work. A lot of our young people today want to be part of what? The rich and famous. That's a fact. Okay? So when people say, how could they vote for that man? They're not voting for that man. They're voting for the billionaire, the liar, the con man. Think about it, y'all. I even got snookered at 18. I was at a bus stop, and these guys was playing 3-card Molly, and I thought I could win. For some reason, they took my $2. Until I realized this was game. So can you imagine the man, the most powerful man in America, who got the biggest game? He do. Okay? So they believing that would rub off on them. Plus, they believe they want something different because we've always said to them, we want something different for you, right? Let's start defining what all of that means. You know, as an educator, what I've realized is a lot of people truly, we are not good communicators. We think people understand what we said when we said it because we know what we said. If you're sitting somewhere, in every meeting I'm in, I say, let's check for understanding. And if you ask people to repeat what you said, in most cases, they off track, okay? Because they heard certain things, and it didn't necessarily connect, and they're not clear on what the directions are. So our directions tonight is, number one, identify one person in your church that we can, vet. I'm not saying you have to tell them the precinct chair. Just vet them. Just tell them, Barbara, I want you to call her. Okay? And most of y'all got my cell number, so that shouldn't be a problem, right? The other thing that's important is sharing with people through their ideologies and their belief that this money's going to rub off on them and that they're going to get rich instantaneously and Trump going to help them get rich. You have to point out this fact. The only people he made rich is his own self and his people. Okay? And I won't say a blind man can see, but if ever you see his presentations, do you see anybody look like us around him? Okay? Here's what he also did. He gives out a little candy too now. Remember, he pardoned some folks. So, particularly from African American, I can't speak from the Hispanic folks, but African Americans are truly committed people. So you pardon me, so I owe you. Realistically, you don't owe them a damn thing. Okay? So some of them really say that. He pardoned my. Yes, that's what he said. Okay? But people believe that he's going to pardon me if he pardoned Kwame Kilpatrick out of Detroit. Okay? And what do you think Kwame feels? Kwame feels committed to him. Okay? So we got to stop thinking that because somebody did a little something for you, that you own. Just like when I get a contribution from a company for my campaign, they didn't buy my vote. Well, what they did is say, I support you. Will you listen to me? And I'll listen. But if I don't agree with you, I'm going to tell you. And I'm not going to support what you want. So we've got to get this mindset out. You don't owe me, or I don't owe you my life because you donated $250 to me. Okay? And I don't owe you my vote because you gave me $1,000. What I owe you is a conversation so we can work it out. And you got something good, you support me, I support you. But if it's bad, I ain't supporting it. And I've had those conversations with people, y'all. I've literally have told them, I can't support that. So we got to be real with people. That's the other thing we have to do. The other thing is, let's stop thinking we need a leader, a single leader. We're waiting on this leader like Dr. King. That's one in a lifetime, y'all. He was truly a prophet in our time. You know, someone who's prepared to get a whole life, who had the gifts that he had to speak and communicate. Those are once in a lifetime. Let's stop looking at one leader because guess what? The enemy can pick off one leader real easy. If we just say one leader, you know, there he go, there she go, oh, well, let's just assassinate them. All of us are leaders. Each and every one of you are leaders. And in taking that leadership role in your network, your sphere of influence is critical. So let's stop looking for another king. He don't exist right now. I'm not saying he'll never exist again. I'm saying right now. If you're an HOA president, you're a leader. If you're a pastor, you're a leader. Y'all have created leaders in your church. So we're all leaders. Let's stop looking for that one. Because people will come up to me all the time and say, well, what y'all gonna do? What y'all gonna do? And I'm looking at them saying, well, guess what? No, what we gonna do? Now, working together, we can accomplish a lot. But if you think you waiting on me, you wrong for that, as the kids would say. You wrong for that, okay? But together we can do this. My question to this audience is this, y'all, because we need to leave here with at least a semblance of a plan. Can we get precinct chairs out of your churches? Is that a fact? And anybody who think we can't, could you at least share it? Why you think we can't? So how many churches we got in here? Raise your hand if you represent a church. So it's 8, I'm counting. Can I get 8 precinct chairs by next week? You hope? No, we ain't hoping. We make things happen. You know, my cousin used to tell me all the time. He called me Niecy growing up, right? Niecy. When my ship come in, I'll buy you a new dress. Guess what my philosophy is? I ain't waiting on my ship to come in. I'm going to get that sucker, okay? That's my philosophy. And she used to tell me all the time growing up, and she never bought me a new dress. So I guess her ship never came in. So we have to be the change that we expect. We have to be the doers. I want at least 8 phone calls next week, y'all, with me. That will move me from 22 to 30 precinct chairs. And also talk to your colleagues. And if you got more members, because I know that all your members don't come from one neighborhood. Okay? So I think that's important. But I think we got to have a dual conversation about how we make this work. You go? Oh, okay. We got to have a dual conversation about how we make this work. How do we do that? What's the challenge? What's the blocker, or is there a blocker? Michelle needs to leave here knowing we're going to recruit precinct chairs. Because the primary is one thing, y'all. We're heading up to November. We got our long-term game and our short-term, okay? Madam, back here. I think coming together is important because we have the critical mass of people. Here's the challenge I have with what you just laid out, but I do believe coming together is important. First of all, young people today don't even believe slavery existed. Okay? That's one thing. The other thing is young people today, you know, we've lowered our standards in some cases. You know, meet them where they are, you know, so they can come with the Daisy Dukes on and the jeans and the T-shirts, right? Meet them where they are. We allow people to change a lot of stuff for us, but norms are good in any society. So we've got to start establishing some norms we need our young people to follow. okay? I think that's one thing. The other thing, though, I think what we can do when you talk about young people is we've got high school graduates, 11th and 12th graders. Why not adopt the high school? By law, they're supposed to get those kids registered, but the school districts haven't done that. But a church can say, are you doing your share in registering those 11th to 12th graders? And raise it up. And then they would have to do it. So adopting a school so that we can get those kids energized. And those are the kids we can bring in and start talking to. But it won't be over a church session, I'll tell you that. It's got to be over some pizza, some fun, and just a rap session of what's going on in their lives. They do want to be heard. They do want to be heard. Okay? So I do think it's important. But I think what we need to hear is what is the barriers for the churches, what prevents them from getting involved? Is it lack of time? What is it? So what would that format be? What does it look like? So we've heard the suggestion, but what is the how for implementation? did you find that out? How did you find that out?
Information from you, information from the county, and doing my own research as well. So it's not just dependent on that, but doing my own research as well. But if you have a precinct chair and you assign that to that person, they can keep you involved. I'm just saying. And that's the point I'm talking about.
Amen.
Thank you.
You know, we have a political action team in our church. And I would say maybe churches can start there, right? To have a political action team in your church. You might not have a precinct person, but you have a political action team. That's it's a ministry that deals with politics, national, local, and we talk about things that impact us as a community.
But we think the precinct chair is so vital because they're going to get up-to-date legal laws affecting voting. They're going to get information that's helpful. They're going to get, I mean, the real-time information is so critical.
A lot of times we get letters from elected officials. They send letters to the church telling us what's going on. We get that type of information all the time. But even tonight, I would think the information we gave out tonight, then I would say mail that information that we discussed tonight, the PowerPoint, to all of those churches, and have another session like this set up to come and have some dialogue, sit around and talk about it. Where you're going after those pastors, right? Where you're going after the pastors, because one of the things that I see as a pastor, uh, not all pastors make the connection where there's a social consciousness theologically. So we can't just assume that's the way they think. A lot of us just trying to get people to heaven. So we're just doing soteriology. We're just trying to save you. But but we have to, it's a process. But I think we have to keep communicating with those pastors, not give up on them, because that might be their theological struggle. But I think you want to keep sending them this type of information. This would happen tonight. We have another one set up to talk more about this, make them aware of the importance of the Bear County election, what's at stake. I think if you put those things in that correspondence with them, now they can think about that leading up to that next.
But Reverend Price, here's the other piece to that, though, because a lot of people were invited tonight, right? We as individuals also have to get committed to at least bring two others. Because, again, as I said earlier, it ain't the message, it's the messenger. So do you know two pastors that believe in you as the messenger, that if we had a meeting, they would come with you?
Well, I had 3 of them with me tonight, but I'm just,
But I'm just saying, if everybody in here brought, and even the others you got bring 2 or 3, I'm just saying that we can meet to set up the next meet, you lose people. What we've got to start doing is showing people the examples of the benefits.
I would say, State Rep, because, like I said, because for pastors, it's a big deal if they don't see it as something that they want to do in their ministry. So you can't just target the pastor. They might have a member in their church who have a passion for politics and social justice. Give me that member. If I can't get the pastor, give me a member from your church who have an interest in this, where that person can bring that information back to the church. The pastor is going to be hard to get.
I agree.
And also, I think what's being said in here tonight by the pastors that are here, if they can get with the pastors that didn't come and speak to them and convince them the need, to come together on the next go round, or, share information that was shared here tonight with individuals within their congregation, and get those phone calls from you about this precinct chair, thing. Well, I'm just saying, we say we try, but what I'm saying is that what are we going to do right now? Let's just move from this point forward. Let's move from this point forward and let the cards fall where they may. If we keep saying making excuses
Or saying what they won't do. So, no, I agree. So I think the next meeting, we should have those maps, okay, and show people how to access those maps where folks become experts. And since our young people like to do stuff on their phone, they can check if they're registered on their phone, okay? They can look up that precinct map with names on their phone, okay?
We had a link we sent out last election.
Check if you were registered.
Yeah, to check if you was registered. It was just a link we could text out. So can y'all get that link back? And we get that link out. Also, let me say something because y'all didn't go into detail on the videos. What the video clips that would come from, we asked the Democratic Party to produce are some little minute and a half, 1 minute, minute and a half videos that look like all of us. You get what I'm saying? That's important. We need some videos one week that look like young people. We need one that speaks to the seniors. We need one that speak to the African American, one that speak to Hispanics, even Anglos. Not all Anglos are Republicans. All right? So we need videos that speak to every group of people. And that's what we asked them to produce. And we will email those videos to every church. And almost every church has media capability. So we asked them to just play that video. And then we also asked the Democratic Party to use some of your people. Make the videos seem more attractive. So we asked them to do that. I saw the one with y'all, but we asked them to do that, and that's important to reach every group of people.
So if we shared, so how many of you would play Commissioner Calvert's video in your church service? Okay, so we will, obviously, we will share it, we will provide that to you. We've got another one that we are in the midst of making, but is that something that you would like, that we would provide videos, kind of get out the vote, not partisan, but just get out the vote kinds of things? The graphic that I showed on important election dates. If we share those, would you put them in your church bulletins and social media? And okay, so those are two. Those are, sometimes you got sometimes you got to go kind of.
Definitely the dates.
All right.
Videos, the dates, and precinct chairs.
Yeah, and then if we can show you where we have the holes, right, where we have precincts that do not have precinct chairs at our next meeting, you come in and maybe take a look and can see, I've got somebody that lives there and I think they might be a good person that would do the work.
So
Go ahead.
somebody asked for duties and responsibilities for the precinct chair. Everybody, did y'all leave your email addresses?
Yes.
We can email that.
The PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility. She'll leave that.
So the map, I think the map is critical too, so that as we are finding people, we actually know that they live in the right place and they can actually do the job. So it's helpful for me because when I ask people to do something, I don't want them to go, oh, well, I'm not in the right precinct.
Yeah.
Or we already have a precinct here. So we don't want to go through that. We need to kind of know
Yeah.
the areas where we need people to live.
I will do that.
And we can do that. We can make it happen.
Let's do it. Okay.
All right.
So to follow up, what are we talking about?
Next meeting?
And we're running out of time. Ms. Crockett.
Yeah, it's cutting it close.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Price, give us a range of time that we need to. We don't have a whole lot of time.
Right. I think early voting starting on the 17th.
Yeah. So
Today is the 8th.
today is the 8th.
So I think we probably should say before the end of this month, have another.
Okay. For the end of the month.
I got a question. Okay, so if we do it by the end of the month, they have February 2nd to get registered.
We're not worried about registering on this go around.
Yeah.
We're not worried about registration on this go round.
Right.
gonna make that happen, Mr. Chairman? Okay. And then, is that a non-committal? Okay, I got it. Okay. Oh, I can bring it up.
He said, in addition to.
Okay, awesome. I'm on program. I didn't know that. All right, got it.
Didn't know it?
I didn't know it.
Well, you know it now.
I do. I'm all in.
Are we, it's 8:35?
Yeah. It's eight. I got 8:28 on my phone.
Okay, mine is fast because I like to be a little early. So mine is a little fast. So we got 2 minutes. If anybody got something they want to say in a minute. Bless you. Got 1 more minute.
I have an announcement also. So we've got Jasmine Crockett coming in this weekend, and we're having a prayer breakfast for her on Monday, the 12th, at 8:30 a.m. till 10, right around the corner at my office. And I'm inviting all you pastors to come. Okay, it is invitation only, so I'm inviting all of you to come, and just let me know if you're available. That's Monday, this coming Monday at 8:30 a.m. We're going to have a good time with our Congresswoman and talk about her run for candidacy for the Senate, and also to really talk about what's happening on the national level and how we can coordinate better and work better together. Okay?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
On the 23rd, the last event of community is next miracle worship service at Oblate School of Theology at 7 o'clock that night, and Dr. Bryant is our main speaker. So we invite you to please come.
Okay. And the Seguin Ministers Union is having their service. What's the date? I'm preaching it. I don't even know the date. It's 7 o'clock.
The church is Second Baptist, 609 South Guadalupe Street at 7 o'clock. And so we'll send this out as well.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And one other announcement. On January the 22nd, there's a forum at Greater Love Multi-Generational Center, 1534 Peck Street, for the judges and the county, is it the county judges and the district attorneys? That's what it is. County judges and district attorneys, January 22nd, 6 o'clock or 6:30 at Greater Love. Everybody who left an email address, I'll send you that flyer. If you left a text, I'll text you that flyer. That's on the 22nd of January. All right. I think it's 6 or 6:30. 1534 Peck, Greater Love Multi-Generational Center. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Okay. 6 p.m. All right. I think that is all. Thank all of you that came out. Thank you for coming. Thank my person, thank Carla for coming out and make sure she run the media for me and all that stuff. All of you that do what you do. We're not closing in prayer. We're doing like